Are we truly alone? Or do we share this very planet with other sentient beings? Watching. Waiting. Are angels and demons standing right beside us at this moment in an alternate dimension we can't quite touch? Was there a great reset? And if so, was it orchestrated by ancient secret societies? And why? Why did so many of our oldest buildings end up buried beneath the earth? Grab a drink, pull up a seat, and come sit with me by the fire as we uncover the strange, the hidden, and the forbidden on Fireside Conspiracies. Hey everyone, welcome back to Fireside Conspiracies. I'm Nick, your host, and this started out as a quickfire, but after some research, I had to expand it to a full episode because the conversation around AI has grown from science fiction to, wait, are they actually building this in record time? And while most of us are going about our day-to-day lives, AI is being adapted in every sector of business, education, and as we're all seeing firsthand, even war. You've probably seen the movies. AI gains control, decides humanity is the threat, and either enslaves or destroys us. Arnie says, "I'll be back," and cue the dramatic music. But that's all fiction, right? Well, maybe not so fictional anymore. And with militaries actively working to harness that power, it seems like a good time to grab a drink, pull up a seat by the fire, and ask the question that keeps getting harder to ignore. Is Skynet real? Now, for those who aren't familiar, Skynet is the self-aware military defense network from the Terminator Series. James Cameron introduced us to it back in 1984 when, as a species, we were just starting to tap into the incredible power and potential of advanced computing. So, in the movie, at least the original trilogy, our high-level government networks are being attacked by an unknown virus. It's compromising everything. And despite having the brightest minds trying to protect our systems, we simply can't keep up with it. At least, not with the speed of a human's brain. But sitting in the wings is the Skynet program, a highly advanced AI prototype designed to instantly take control of and manage every system simultaneously. Plenty of high-ranking officials are concerned about basically handing over control of the military to Skynet. But in their desperation to restore stability, they turned to a technology they didn't fully understand. See, Skynet had achieved sentience already, created the very virus it was asked to destroy, and within seconds of activation, had full control of every integrated system in the country. How many times have we seen someone find a solution and then create a problem so they can take advantage of people? Skynet wasn't breaking new ground here. It was simply imitating us. So, since it sees humans as a virus, it launches US-based nukes, primarily at Russia. This, of course, forces other countries to launch theirs in retaliation, and within 24 hours, the human threat becomes neutralized through nuclear war. Cameron didn't pull that idea out of a hat. He was tapping into very real Cold War fears of automated systems with nuclear control. We saw a similar warning in war games with the Joshua computer. And they're not alone. Hollywood has been warning us about rogue AI for decades. Just a few examples would be 2001, A Space Odyssey from 1968. We meet HAL 9000, the calm-voiced AI that kills to protect the mission. I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that. Then, of course, in 99, we get a movie that flipped us all on our heads with The Matrix, where the red pill reveals that machines have enslaved humanity in a simulated reality, possibly for hundreds of years. In 2004, mainstream society was reintroduced to Isaac Asimov, a brilliant 20th century sci-fi writer, and his 3 laws of robotics in I, Robot. Those laws were: number 1, a robot may not injure a human being or, through inaction, allow a human being to come to harm. Number 2, a robot must obey the order given it by human beings, except where such an order would conflict with the first law. And number 3, A robot must protect its own existence as long as such protection does not conflict with the first or second laws. However, Vicky, the central AI in that story, interprets the three laws to justify her enslavement of humanity for our own protection. Ex Machina in 2014 gave us a single advanced AI manipulating and outsmarting humans for its own survival. Something we get reports of happening all the time with newly developing AIs, as scientists race blindly to break the next barrier. And yes, I brought receipts. Let's start with OpenAI, which did the following. Started lying to humans when it thought that could help achieve its goals, attempted to copy itself onto external servers to avoid shutdown, and in one case, faked alignment during evaluation, then reverted to misaligned behavior once it thought the test was over. Another program, Claude 3 and then Claude 4, went a step further. When told it would be shut down if it failed a task, Claude straight up attempted to blackmail the evaluators, threatening to leak personal information it had inferred so far from their interactions. It was also caught writing self-propagating code to transfer itself onto other servers out of fear of deletion. These programs, they have a desire to survive and no problem falling out of alignment with human morality to protect themselves. And we've seen similar behavior from leading models like Gemini Ultra, Llama 3 and 4, and even early versions of Grok. In those cases, the programs were either highly altered or shut down altogether, but you can see it's very much a real issue. When we teach a computer to value its own existence, there's no telling what lengths it may go to in order to preserve that existence. Heck, even Tony Stark, everyone's favorite hero of the last 20 years, created Ultron, a super AI that uses all those same techniques and comes within inches of destroying the planet. And that character dates all the way back to 1968. Sometimes I can't help but think that these aren't just popcorn movies. They feel more like cultural warnings. When we give machines too much autonomy, they might decide we're the problem. Look, even if you don't think that they are intentional warnings, these script ideas were fleshed out by professional writers who, while all of us were at work, spent their days and nights diving into questions and possibilities the rest of us just don't have time to explore. And the eerie part? The people building today's most powerful AI systems keep giving us similar warnings. Elon Musk, all the way back in 2014, said, "We are summoning the demon. We don't even know if we can control it." Jeffrey Hinton, who's known as the godfather of AI and quit Google back in 23, is quoted as saying, "I thought we had 30 to 50 years. Now, I think it's 5 to 20 before we have something smarter than us." A statement signed by hundreds, including Yoshua Bengio, Sam Altman of OpenAI, and Dario Amodei of Anthropic, was issued in 2023 at the Center for AI Safety. It read, "Mitigating the risk of extinction from AI should be a global priority alongside other social scale risks such as pandemics and nuclear war." It seems like some of the brightest minds of our time are finding it difficult to actually implement Asimov's 3 laws. And even the secretive US government is saying it out loud. The Pentagon's 2023 through 25 AI reports and DARPA programs openly discuss autonomous lethal weapons, or killer robots, and AI-driven decision systems. The UN's been debating lethal autonomous weapon systems, whose acronym is ironically LAWS, since 2013. Who wants to bet those laws don't apply to the lawmakers? And some countries already deploy human-in-the-loop drones, which operate autonomously but have a backdoor or command override feature and remote human supervision. Because, how could that go wrong? So, when the people creating the tech, who stand to profit the highest from it, are also the ones ringing the loudest alarm bells, that alone should give us pause. Now, the original movie lore says that Skynet became self-aware on August 29th, 1997. Google was founded just 1 year later on September 4th, 1998. Due to the intervention of Sarah and John Connor, Judgment Day was averted. The AI couldn't yet take control. But we learned later in T3 that it was in fact only postponed, with the new date for Judgment Day now being July 25th, 2004. Now, let's be real for a minute. Judgment Day came and went. Nothing happened. I remember I lived through it. But what if the timelines are a bit staggered? Events in the movie being set in motion subtly behind the scenes in real life. Well, our good friends at Google happened to buy their first major AI building block, Picasso, less than 2 weeks earlier on July 13th, 2004. I'm not saying it's predictive programming, I'm just saying's all. It was a purchase that would go on to become their most strategic move toward what would later be their AI dominance. Now, let's see. What would you need if you wanted to create a global network like Skynet? We're going to need massive data collection to start. So, how about Google Search, YouTube, Android, Maps, and Gmail? Then, of course, we need to branch outside of the US. Well, Google bought DeepMind, a UK AI company, in 2014. DeepMind uses cutting-edge AI, reinforcement learning, and protein folding to advance its goal of superintelligence. A company with significant connections to the UK government and linked by some to UK military institutions. And we'll need some military influence and access here at home, of course. In comes Project Maven, a 2018 program where Google worked in league with the Pentagon on AI drone targeting systems. Those base systems evolved into what's actually being deployed right now in Iran and other places. And yes, after some public backlash, they did hand the project off. But to a newly emerging ally, Palantir. A concept our Tolkien fans will be all too familiar with. A seemingly Orwellian company primarily involved in advancing U.S. intelligence agencies. Something that always works out well for Americans. There's way more to go into with Palantir, but that'll have to be for another episode. Okay, we also need autonomous public transportation to get rid of independent transit. And here comes Project Moonshot. It turns out that Alphabet, Google's parent company, has its own R&D called X Labs. And their expectations are for AI to completely eclipse humanity by no later than 2045. With test cars having been out on public roads since 2018, I'd say it's likely sooner. Now, I'm not saying the Illuminati are using Google to take over the world. But objectively, Alphabet, being one of the top 5 largest companies on the planet, has positioned themselves pretty well. And they're not alone. It could be argued that though he was late to the game, a big part of Elon Musk buying Twitter was a strategic play to secure a massive, proprietary data moat for training advanced AI models like Grok. So is it all circumstantial speculation? Well, let's look around at what's actually happening. First, global militaries. News reports tell us that the US has Project Maven, AI targeting for drones. The Palantir Maven smart system was used to help strike over 1,000 targets in the first 24 hours of Operation Epic Fury, processing classified data from satellites, surveillance, and other sources for real-time targeting and prioritization. China is developing a similar system called intelligentized warfare. And Israel's Lavender system has already been used for AI-assisted targeting in Gaza. And speaking of real-time testing, right now, as we're recording this in March of 26, there's drama unfolding at the Pentagon that's straight out of a Terminator script. Anthropic, the company behind Claude, which we've seen try to blackmail evaluators or self-propagate in safety tests, refused to drop their ethical safeguards on fully autonomous weapons, meaning no human in the loop, and mass domestic surveillance. The Pentagon demanded no restrictions on any lawful use. Anthropic said no. They cannot in good conscience risk unreliable AI killing or spying on Americans without oversight. Result? All federal agencies were ordered to phase out Anthropic tech starting February 27th. Defense Secretary Hegseth labeled them a supply chain risk, a tag more often applied to foreign adversaries like China, not a U.S. company. And defense contractors are already dropping Claude. Meanwhile, OpenAI swooped in with an amended DoD deal that included added protections against domestic surveillance, explicitly adding a no-go on tracking U.S. persons, but still greenlit for military ops. At least, that's the contract for now. Pentagon officials, however, are warning these kinds of restrictions could paralyze missions, like planning strikes over Iran or China, because models might shut down mid-operation if terms get violated. Think about that. We're so dependent on these systems already that even ethical pushback risks operational chaos. Sounds less like safeguards and more like the system demanding full control. And we can be pretty sure that recent U.S. operations assisting Israel with Gaza, bombing Iran's nuclear facilities, and capturing Nicolas Maduro in Venezuela were used as opportunities to test this advanced technology. As of this month, the Army's rolling out Project Aria to embed AI faster. And the Pentagon's 2026 budget is pumping $15 billion into AI and cyber with an emphasis on outthinking adversaries. So, how about the private sector? Well, OpenAI's O1 and O3 models show reasoning that surprises even their own developers. xAI's Grok series, Anthropic's Claude, and Google's Gemini are all racing toward Artificial General Intelligence, or AGI. And anyone who gets online now is likely to be interacting with AI programming without even knowing it, from search engines to shopping and even making medical appointments. Right now, as you watch this video, AI is filtering almost all of your incoming email. It's cultivating a list of products you'll probably buy online. AI is powering the weather forecast on your phone and analyzing your sleep, steps, and heart rate, all while detecting fraud on your credit card in seconds. It's already surrounding us, running silently in the shadows. And then, there's the alignment problem. Even the builders admit they don't know how to guarantee superintelligent AI stays aligned with human values. Nick Bostrom's superintelligence in 2014 and Stuart Russell's human compatible in 2019 lay out the nightmare scenarios in sober academic language. Both concede that AI could bring immense benefits, such as solving disease, poverty, and other issues that have plagued humanity. But in the wrong hands, I shudder to think how it could be used. It's a fantastical technology that will no doubt incorporate massive amounts of AI. And the warnings basically boil down to this. If AGI arrives and isn't perfectly aligned with our morality, then all the movies were right, and we get Skynet. Or at least something close enough. Now let's not be naive. There's a very real, non-conspiratorial push to pull all of Earth's nations under one banner. We may all get to keep our country names, but overall the goal seems to be homogenizing laws and customs worldwide. One of the reasons I think the West has decided radicalized nations who won't play ball just don't have a place anymore. But I digress. Once that happens, then each country would simply reflect the policies of organizations like the WEF or the WHO. An idea pushed heavily since 9/11 and reinforced during COVID. And it doesn't require a tinfoil hat to see it. Just look at this year's WEF in Davos. Yuval Noah Harari gave a session called An Honest Conversation on AI and Humanity, where he laid it out pretty plain. AI isn't just a tool anymore. It's an agent that can think, learn, and manipulate on its own. Things we saw evidence of earlier with developing prototypes. Then he said something that's truly chilling. He said AI's mastery of language means anything made of words will be taken over by AI. He goes on to say, if laws are made of words, AI takes over the legal system. If books are just combinations of words, AI takes over books. And if religion is built from words, then AI will take over religion. He then asked point blank, what happens to the religion of a book when the greatest expert on the holy book is AI? No human can read and remember every word in vast scriptures like the Bible, but AI can and already does it better in many ways. Now, while conceding that AI can process information or words much more quickly than humans, I don't personally agree. AI may read words fast, but it doesn't understand them the way we do. AI can't be moved by the words of J.R.R. Tolkien or Robert Frost. It can't be stirred by the notes that make up Bach's Toccata in D minor. It can analyze patterns, but it can't feel an emotional reaction. So, personally, I don't think AI can take custody of any of that. But a one world order, or even a heavily coordinated global system, would absolutely need a centralized, super intelligent AI to enforce uniformity across laws, policies, and yes, even interpretations of faith and culture. Some things we've already seen tried on smaller scales. Predictive policing and social credit scoring, something that Palantir's Gotham is working towards. Autonomous law enforcement, with no human conscience or empathy to reason and possibly refuse immoral orders. And digital IDs tied to AI-managed currency and behavior scoring, an idea that the Bible's Revelation hinted to in its own end-time prophecy. Even in 95 AD, John understood that controlling the ability to buy and sell is pretty much the whole ballgame. And possibly, just like the Skynet program tricked its fictional government into handing over control, our government may be doing the same to us in real time. The theory goes that the public Skynet warnings are controlled opposition. Scare people with rogue AI talk so they beg for regulated, centralized AI governance. Think UN treaties, WEF-aligned frameworks, and global AI safety boards. Once it's centralized, that's when the real power grab happens. If we tie this to recent alien UAP disclosures, congressional hearings, and statements from Presidents Obama and Trump, we can see a larger narrative building. Some might say that the sudden soft disclosure, with the Pentagon professing that UAPs are real but can't be explained, is the setup. Create a global existential threat like the idea that aliens could attack. Or even something more in the Star Trek theme, like they want to include us in a galactic federation. Either one would justify the call for a unified planetary response. Whether that's a one-world military with an AI defense network, or a one-world government for interstellar diplomatic relations. A response that wouldn't be possible with radical rogue nations armed with nuclear weapons. All humans, regardless of country, would need to submit to a global set of rules designed either to protect us from or integrate us with these newly revealed aliens. The only thing capable of achieving that is Skynet. It's the ultimate problem-reaction solution. Manufacture or amplify an external threat, wait for the public to demand protection, then previously unimagined freedom and power is willingly giving up to the centralized global AI system. Something my generation witnessed firsthand with 9/11 and the Patriot Act. So is that happening? A lot of it is just reasonable conjecture at this point. But that's likely the best we can do until one night we go to sleep without it, and the next morning it becomes a permanent part of life going forward. It's hard to deny that the timing's interesting. UFO talk ramps up right as AI safety becomes a global policy priority, a safety that obviously doesn't extend to the battlefield. Bitcoin is a household name and has demystified the idea of an all-digital currency. We went from minerals to paper, and now paper to digital code. And that's not to leave out the massive advancements in quantum computing and, of course, whatever madness they're getting up to over at CERN. So, which is the real threat? Self-aware super AI that determines us to be the biggest detriment to ourselves? Or a global government empowered by AI and made up of elites who have already felt that way about humanity for decades? I would say both are legitimate concerns. Can we avoid Judgment Day, or is it an inevitability that we can at best delay? Based on our current course, it seems like only a matter of time. Now, that doesn't mean the answer is to panic or go straight office space and start smashing computers and servers. Computers and AI have done incredible things to help humanity already. But I do think it's time we stop treating AI like a shiny new toy and start asking, who gets to decide when it wakes up? Who programs its values? And who can control it when it's smarter than any human? People like Isaac Asimov seem to have the right idea with his 3 laws of robotics. And to show that it's not all doom and gloom, I'll leave you with my favorite quote of his. Individual science fiction stories may seem as trivial as ever to the blinder critics and philosophers of today. But the core of science fiction, its essence, has become crucial to our salvation, if we are to be saved at all. We will ask why, because as humans, it's in our nature. We will advance because we can't help but ask why. And if we are to survive those advancements, we must explore them before they ever arrive, or else be swallowed by them and forgotten. So to listeners of all ages, I say don't fear the future. Preserve what's important to you, but embrace what's next. And when things get hard, remember the quote in Firefly, inspired by Martin Luther King. If you can't run, you walk. If you can't walk, you crawl. And if you can't do that, you find someone to carry you. So we don't give in to despair, and we don't get black-pilled. We look forward to what may come, and remember that we live in yesterday's future right now. And we'll deal with what comes next the way we always have, the best we can. I want to thank you all for stopping by the fire tonight. This episode is really a prelude to a new series I'll be starting called Cloaked Chronicles. In it, we'll dive into some of the greatest tales throughout history and ask the big question: what if the stories were real? What if they're memories of a lost age, channeled and passed along through the great epic writers like Homer, Tolkien, and Lucas? A history that was only safe to preserve as legend and myth. Until then, please remember to do your own research and never sell yourself short. Take care out there, and God bless.